brothers, sisters, and seekers of truth. When we look at the world today, one question rises again and again. Why is Islam the fastest growing religion on this planet? Why do we see men and women from the West, people who once had no connection with the Quran or the Prophet, embracing Islam with open hearts? The answer is not found in statistics alone. The answer lies in the human soul. The core of Islam begins with a truth so simple that even a child can understand it. There is only one God. This truth is called Tawheed, and it is the heartbeat of the faith. In a world where human beings are constantly surrounded by complexity, confusion, and layers of philosophy that make belief feel distant, the simplicity of Tawheed speaks directly to the heart without needing elaborate explanation. It is not wrapped in mystery or riddles. It does not demand that you first climb a mountain of intellectual theories before you can embrace it. Instead, it calls to the deepest part of your being, the place that already knows that life cannot be explained by randomness, that existence must be connected to a single source. The soul, even if it has been distracted, recognizes this truth the moment it is spoken. For many people in the West, religion has often become a system full of debates, changing doctrines, and interpretations that conflict with each other. This complexity can feel exhausting. When someone encounters Islam, the simplicity of saying, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger, strikes them like a ray of light in a darkened room. It is not burdened with layers of conditions. It is a declaration both profound and straightforward. They realize that belief in one God does not require detachment from reason, but in fact it is aligned with reason. If there is a creator of the universe, he must be one. If he is on, then guidance must come through his chosen messengers. And if this is true, then life has clarity. This clarity is deeply attractive to the modern seeker. Imagine someone who has been searching for meaning in philosophy, in science, in endless books that offer more questions than answers. They carry within themselves a restlessness. When they meet the concept of Tawheed, it is like hearing the simplest of melodies that calms the storm inside. It is not just an idea, it is an anchor. It does not change with time, culture, or politics. From the deserts of Arabia 1,400 years ago to the cities of Europe and America today, it remains the same. This stability in belief is rare in a world that changes so quickly. Another aspect that makes Tawheed so powerful is that it restores dignity to the human being. If there is only one God, then no man, no idol, no wealth, no authority can claim ultimate power over another. Submission belongs to God alone. For someone living in societies where success, status, and material power dominate, the idea that no one but God deserves worship is liberating. It means that human worth is not determined by class or career, but by the sincerity of one's heart before the Creator. This is why so many converts describe their experience as not adopting something foreign, but discovering something they always felt was true inside themselves. 5 times a day, the Muslim world pauses. From the busy streets of cities to the quiet corners of homes, believers rise, bow, and prostrate. At first glance, these prayers may seem like ritual movements repeated out of obligation, but in reality, they carry within them a profound discipline of the heart. In a time when life is dominated by speed, constant noise, and endless distractions, the rhythm of prayer becomes a sanctuary that anchors the soul. It is not simply about bending the body. It is about training the mind to return again and again to its center, to its purpose, to its Creator. For many people in the West, the idea of stopping multiple times in a day for prayer is unusual, even intimidating. Their schedules are filled with work, commitments, and leisure that leaves little space for reflection. But when they witness Muslims living with this structure, they begin to see something remarkable. These 5 pauses are not interruptions to life. They are moments that give life its meaning. In every prayer, a person disconnects from the external world and reconnects with the eternal. The repetition is not a burden, but a reminder. Like the steady beating of the heart that keeps the body alive, prayer keeps the spirit alive. The discipline found in this practice brings balance to a life that often feels chaotic. In the morning, before the world is fully awakened, the believer stands to greet the day with remembrance of God. At midday, when the weight of work and activity begins to press, prayer offers renewal. In the afternoon, as energy fades, prayer lifts the spirit again. At sunset, when the sky is painted in colors of change, the believer bows in gratitude. And at night, before sleep takes over, the final prayer closes the day in peace. This cycle is more than devotion, it is harmony woven into daily existence. Western converts often describe this rhythm as a form of meditation combined with action. It is not sitting silently while thoughts wander. It is engaging the whole body, mind, and spirit in surrender. Each movement carries symbolism. Standing reflects readiness before God. Bowing expresses humility. Prostration, the lowest physical posture, symbolizes the highest spiritual state, complete surrender to the Creator. In these moments, the heart feels grounded and the ego is quieted. For people accustomed to chasing constant achievement, the simple act of lowering the head to the ground becomes a powerful reminder that true greatness is found in humility. What makes this discipline even more striking is its universality. A Muslim in New York, another in London, and another in Jakarta all face the same direction, recite the same words, and move in the same way. It creates a rhythm not only within an individual, but across humanity. Converts often speak of their amazement the first time they stand in prayer within a congregation, feeling the weight of unity as hundreds of voices recite in unison. For many, it is the first time they have experienced silence within themselves while being surrounded by so many others. It is in this silence that they find the peace they have been searching for, a peace not dependent on circumstance, but born from alignment with the divine. When a person steps into a mosque for the very first time, there is a moment of quiet surprise. Men and women from different backgrounds, with different accents and colors of skin, stand shoulder to shoulder in a single row. The wealthy and the poor, the educated and the uneducated, the native and the foreigner. None hold a higher position in that line. They bow together, they prostrate together, and they rise together. This is the lived reality of Islamic brotherhood, a bond that extends beyond borders and dissolves barriers that the world has built so carefully. In a society where divisions are everywhere, between classes, between races, between nations, the experience of such unity feels revolutionary. In Islam, equality is not a concept written on paper, it is embodied in action. The Prophet Muhammad taught that no Arab is superior to a non-Arab, and no white person is superior to a black person, except in piety and good deeds. These words, spoken over 1400 years ago, were not abstract ideals. They were the foundation of a community where men like Bilal, a former slave of African origin, were honored for their faith and character. For Westerners, especially those who have witnessed the deep scars of racism and inequality in their societies, this principle resonates strongly. To walk into a place of worship and feel no judgment based on appearance or background is often a new and healing experience. This sense of belonging is amplified by the way Muslims address one another. Strangers greet each other as brother and sister. This is not symbolic language. It reflects a genuine sense of family that transcends blood ties. A convert who enters Islam is not treated as an outsider who must slowly earn acceptance. From the very first day, they are welcomed into a network of people ready to share meals, advice, and support. For many Western converts who have lived in cultures of individualism, this sudden experience of community can feel overwhelming. Yet it is precisely this warmth and togetherness that touches their hearts. The unity of Islam also manifests in shared practices. No matter where a Muslim is in the world, they recite the same words in prayer, fast during the same month of Ramadan, and turn toward the same Kaaba in Makkah. These shared acts create a sense of belonging to something much greater than oneself. A person who once felt small or isolated in the vast machinery of modern society now feels connected to a brotherhood of nearly 2 billion people. This realization, that they are part of a global family, is often described as one of the most profound shifts that new Muslims experience. Even outside the mosque, the sense of brotherhood continues. When one Muslim suffers, others feel their pain, whether they live next door or across the ocean. This compassion and solidarity are not limited by national borders. It is a reminder that human dignity is not divided into categories of race, wealth, or geography. For those who come from cultures where loneliness is common and communities are fragmented, discovering a faith that binds people together in such a powerful way feels like a long-awaited homecoming. Modern life has created a strange paradox. On one hand, people have more convenience, more technology, and more material abundance than ever before. On the other hand, many feel emptier, more anxious, and more disconnected from themselves. Surrounded by artificial lights, processed foods, and the constant buzz of machines, human beings often forget the natural rhythm of existence. Islam, in its teachings and way of life, calls people back to that balance. It does not demand escape from the world, but it teaches moderation, gratitude, and a gentle way of walking upon the earth. This return to a natural state is one of the most powerful reasons why people searching for meaning find solace in Islam. The Quran describes food, water, animals, and even the alternation of night and day as signs for reflection. Eating is not merely an act of filling the stomach, but an act of gratitude. Drinking water is not something to be taken for granted, but a reminder of the mercy of God. For someone living in a culture where consumption has become mindless and excessive, these teachings offer a refreshing perspective. Instead of chasing endless satisfaction, Islam redirects attention to appreciation, to eat less, to share with others, to remember the source of provision. These simple practices create a healthier relationship with the world and with oneself. In matters of speech, Islam advises honesty and restraint. Words are seen as powerful, capable of healing or harming. Modern societies, especially in the age of digital communication, are filled with noise, arguments, and words spoken without thought. When a convert discovers that Islam places value on silence, on speaking only what is beneficial, it becomes a kind of medicine for the restless mind. It teaches that not every thought must be spoken and not every impulse must be followed. The discipline of guarding the tongue becomes as a way of returning to a more natural, measured state of being. The same balance extends to wealth and possessions. Islam does not condemn wealth, but it teaches moderation and generosity. A person should enjoy what they have, but not be enslaved by it. They should give to those in need, remembering that wealth is a trust, not an ultimate goal. For those in the West who often measure success purely by financial status, this perspective opens a new understanding. It shifts the focus from accumulation to contribution, from greed to gratitude. Many converts describe feeling lighter, as if they have stepped out of a cycle of endless wanting into a way of life that values contentment. Even in physical posture and movement, Islam encourages humility. The act of lowering the gaze, the etiquette of greeting with peace, the rhythm of bowing and prostration, all these embody a natural balance between body and spirit. Unlike philosophies that only address the mind, or lifestyles that only indulge the body, Islam unites both. It restores harmony in a way that feels deeply human. Western seekers, who are often caught between extremes, either indulgence or denial, find in Islam a middle path that aligns with the nature they have long ignored. In today's world, people are surrounded by noise that never stops. The phone rings, screens flash, advertisements shout, and the demands of work and society keep pressing in. In this constant rush, many feel like they are drifting without direction, pulled by currents they cannot control. Material success is held up as the highest goal, yet even those who achieve it often find themselves restless, searching for something more. Islam steps into this emptiness not as a philosophy to be debated, but as a way of life that provides stillness in the storm. Its practices, its guidance, and its vision of existence offer peace that is not dependent on external conditions, but grows quietly within the heart. One of the reasons Westerners are drawn to Islam is because it answers the hunger for meaning that materialism cannot satisfy. A person may live in comfort, have a stable career, and enjoy freedom, yet still feel an aching void. This is because material achievements address only the outer needs of life, while the inner self remains unattended. Islam addresses this inner self directly. Through prayer, fasting, remembrance of God, and acts of charity, the soul is nourished in ways that possessions can never replace. Converts often describe their first experience of peace not as an external event, but as an internal shift, a sense of being at home within themselves for the first time. The rhythm of Islamic practice acts as a shield against chaos. Daily prayers bring pause to the rush of life, turning moments of stress into moments of reflection. Fasting during Ramadan trains patience, discipline, and empathy, creating strength in the heart that cannot be shaken by outside circumstances. Acts of charity remind a believer that their existence is tied to something greater than themselves, connecting them to a community and a higher purpose. These practices are not random obligations. They are tools of balance, guiding the human being back to peace again and again. What makes this peace even more profound is its clarity. Many Westerners come from backgrounds where religious doctrines have become complicated, leaving them with doubts and confusion. Islam, however, presents a direct path. There is no confusion about who God is, no layers of interpretation that make belief inaccessible. The straightforward declaration of faith offers certainty in a time when people are surrounded by uncertainty. This certainty creates peace of mind. When the mind is no longer pulled in 1,000 directions, the heart can finally rest. Another source of peace in Islam is the understanding of purpose. Human life is not an accident of nature, not a meaningless collection of moments. Every action, every breath, every choice is part of a journey toward God. For a person who has lived without a sense of direction, this realization changes everything. Suddenly, life is not random but meaningful. Even suffering gains context because it is seen as a test that can elevate the soul. This perspective transforms anxiety into patience and despair into hope. It creates a foundation of peace that no material possession could ever provide. Submission is a word that many people misunderstand. To some, it sounds like weakness, as if surrendering to something greater means losing freedom or control. But in Islam, submission is the opposite. It is not about giving up dignity. It is about rising above the illusions that keep people chained. When a believer submits to God, they are no longer a servant of their desires, their fears, or the opinions of others. They stand free, not because they control the world, but because they no longer need to. This is a kind of freedom that modern life, with all its promises of independence, rarely delivers. In Western societies, people are taught that freedom comes from doing whatever you want, whenever you want. Yet when this idea is lived out, it often leads to emptiness. The pursuit of every desire does not make a person free. It makes them a prisoner of those desires. Chasing pleasure, wealth, or recognition becomes an endless cycle, leaving people restless and unsatisfied. When they encounter Islam, they discover a different understanding of freedom, one that comes through submission to the one who created them. By placing their trust in God, they find that the chains of materialism, ego, and social pressure begin to fall away. The act of submission in Islam is not abstract. It is embodied in the very practices of the faith. Each time a Muslim bows and prostrates in prayer, they are reminded that true greatness is not in standing tall before the world, but in lowering oneself before the Creator. This physical act carries a deep symbolism. When the forehead touches the ground, the ego surrenders and the soul rises. For many converts, this moment is described as the most liberating experience of their lives. They feel small before God, yet stronger than they ever did in the face of society. Submission also transforms the way a person deals with hardship. Life is filler, with trials, and modern culture often encourages resistance against everything that causes discomfort. But Islam teaches that there is wisdom in surrendering to the will of God, even when one does not understand it fully. This does not mean passivity or giving up effort. It means trusting that behind every challenge there is a purpose, and behind every loss there is a lesson. Such a perspective gives strength in times of suffering and calm in times of uncertainty. It allows a person to move through life without being broken by its difficulties, because their reliance is not on fragile human systems, but on the eternal Creator. For those living in the West, where identity is often shaped by career, status, or public image, submission to God also brings a new sense of self. It means no longer needing validation from society. The believer is not defined by fashion trends, economic position, or shifting cultural values. Their worth is rooted in their relationship with God alone. This is why many new Muslims describe feeling as if they have been unburdened of expectations they carried for years. In submission, they find clarity. In surrender, they discover strength. One of the most powerful aspects of Islam that draws people from all walks of life is its clarity. In a world filled with endless theories, shifting opinions, and constantly changing moral codes, Islam presents a faith that is free of contradictions and confusion. It offers certainty in a time where many feel lost in the maze of philosophies and ideologies. The declaration of faith is simple and unchanging. There is only one God, and Muhammad is his messenger. From this foundation, everything flows with coherence. Belief, worship, morality, and law all stem from this single source. For a seeker who has been overwhelmed by the complexity of competing worldviews, this straightforward path is like stepping out of a dense fog into clear sunlight. Western societies often value questioning, exploration, and debate. While these can lead to growth, they also often leave individuals with more questions than answers. People may move from one philosophy to another, from one ideology to the next, always searching but never arriving at certainty. When they encounter Islam, many are struck by how the religion addresses life in its entirety, without leaving contradictions behind. It does not demand blind faith, but it provides answers that align with both reason and the heart. The Quran challenges its readers to reflect, to observe the natural world, and to see the signs of the Creator in the order of the universe. For those used to vague or mystical claims, this invitation to reason and reflection feels refreshing. The clarity of Islam extends to its guidance on daily living. Instead of abstract theories, it offers practical direction: how to pray, how to fast, how to treat others, how to earn honestly, how to purify the heart. Each instruction has a purpose that is visible to those who practice it. Converts often remark that they no longer feel confused about what is expected of them. They know the path and they can walk it. This kind of certainty removes the anxiety of doubt and replaces it with confidence. It is not the confidence of arrogance, but of knowing that one's life has structure and direction. This sense of clarity also answers the deep human need for stability. In societies where values are constantly shifting, where what is considered right today may be wrong tomorrow, Islam stands firm. Its principles have remained unchanged for over 1400 years, yet they still apply to modern life. For someone exhausted by the instability of trends and changing cultural norms, the unchanging message of Islam is a source of comfort. They feel they have found a foundation that will not crumble beneath their feet. Another aspect of this clarity is the absence of contradictions between spiritual and worldly life. In some traditions, a person feels they must choose between faith and reason, or between spirituality and practical life. Islam resolves this tension by teaching that faith strengthens reason, and that worship enhances worldly responsibilities. This harmony appeals to people who are tired of division within themselves. They no longer have to split their lives into separate compartments. They can live as whole human beings. In this wholeness, they discover a peace that confusion had long denied them. When someone walks into a mosque for the first time, they are often surprised by the atmosphere. It is not a place reserved only for prayer, but also a space where people meet, greet, and connect. Children play in the courtyard, elders sit together sharing wisdom, and families gather to support one another. The strong sense of community is one of the defining features of Islam and one of the most powerful reasons why people from the West, often raised in cultures of individualism, find Islam so appealing. The mosque is not only a house of worship, it is a house of belonging. It is where strangers become family and where a person feels that their presence truly matters. In many Western societies, loneliness has become an unspoken crisis. People may live in crowded cities, work in busy offices, and interact daily through digital platforms, yet still feel isolated. Communities are often fragmented, and human connection is shallow. In contrast, Islam weaves community into every aspect of life. The Friday prayer brings everyone together at the same time, reminding individuals that they are part of something larger. Ramadan strengthens these bonds further, as families, neighbors, and entire communities break their fast together. For converts, this experience of collective worship and shared meals is often described as a kind of healing. They no longer feel invisible or disconnected, they feel embraced. The sense of community also extends beyond the walls of the mosque. When a Muslim is in need, others are expected to help. The giving of zakat, a portion of one's wealth to those less fortunate, is a pillar of the faith. It is not optional charity, but an obligation, ensuring that the community cares for its weakest members. For those who come from environments where poverty and struggle are often ignored, this principle is deeply moving. They witness a system that does not allow someone to be forgotten, where generosity is built into the very foundation of belief. For converts, one of the most powerful moments is being greeted as brother or sister. This is not a casual phrase, but a recognition that they are immediately part of a family that transcends bloodlines. Even if they left behind relatives who did not understand their decision, they find new mothers, fathers, siblings, and friends within the Muslim community. They are not asked to prove themselves before being accepted. They are welcomed simply because they have chosen to believe. This unconditional sense of belonging stands in stark contrast to the conditional relationships many have known before. The community in Islam is not limited to local gatherings. It is global. A Muslim in London feels connected to a Muslim in Cairo, Jakarta, or Lagos. The shared direction of prayer, the fasting during Ramadan, the pilgrimage to Makkah, all of these create a bond that crosses languages and cultures. This worldwide brotherhood provides a sense of identity and solidarity that is rare in a fragmented world. Converts often express awe when they realize that they are part of a family of nearly 2 billion people, a family that sees them not as outsiders, but as one of their own. One of the striking features of Islam is that it is not limited to spiritual belief alone, but provides guidance for every part of human life. Many religions and philosophies speak about God or morality in abstract terms, but they often leave daily living without clear direction. Islam, on the other hand, offers a framework that touches every area: how to worship, how to eat, how to dress, how to treat family, how to conduct business, and how to build society. This completeness is part of what draws people from the West, who are often used to separating the spiritual from the practical. When they encounter a faith that unites both, they find a sense of harmony that feels natural and deeply fulfilling. In family life, Islam emphasizes respect, kindness, and responsibility. Parents are honored, children are cherished, and the bond between husband and wife is based on mercy and mutual support. In many societies, families are weakening, with generations drifting apart and individuals growing distant even within the same household. Converts often find in Islam a vision of family that restores dignity to relationships. The rights of parents, the care for children, and the compassion between spouses create a strong foundation that supports not just individuals, but entire communities. This balance gives people a sense of stability they may never have experienced before. In matters of society, Islam offers clear principles of justice, fairness, and compassion. Business dealings are to be honest, wealth is to be shared with those in need, and disputes are to be resolved with equity. For people who have seen corruption, dishonesty, and greed dominate their societies, these teachings feel like a return to integrity. They see in Islam a system that does not separate morality from economy or faith from law, but connects them all under the guidance of God. This integration provides a sense of wholeness that many have long been searching for. On the personal level, Islam provides tools for self-discipline and growth. Prayer trains the heart to remember God, fasting teaches patience and empathy, zakat purifies wealth, and pilgrimage connects the individual to a global brotherhood. Each practice is more than symbolic. It reshapes character and develops the soul. For converts who may have felt directionless in their habits or trapped by unhealthy lifestyles, these structured practices bring transformation. They begin to see their lives not as scattered pieces, but as an organized journey with clear steps leading toward a greater purpose. Even the smallest details of life are not overlooked. How to eat, how to greet, how to rest, how to care for neighbors. Each of these has guidance rooted in wisdom. This attention to detail shows that no part of human life is meaningless. Everything, no matter how ordinary, can become an act of worship if done with the right intention. For those in the West who have felt a divide between the sacred and the ordinary, discovering this perspective changes how they view their daily existence. Every action becomes meaningful, and life itself becomes a continuous reminder of God. Islam presents itself not as the religion of one nation, one ethnicity, or one period of history, but as a universal message. Its foundation is built upon the belief that the Creator of the heavens and the earth has sent guidance for all people, regardless of where they were born or what language they speak. This universality is one of the most striking reasons it continues to grow across the globe, especially in regions where people once thought of it as foreign or distant. When someone embraces Islam in the West, they often describe the feeling not as adopting a new identity, but as discovering a truth that already belonged to them. The message does not ask them to abandon their humanity, it asks them to perfect it. The universality of Islam is seen in its central declaration of faith, that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. This statement is not tied to a culture, a race, or a geographic location. It is a call that addresses the human soul directly. Every person, regardless of their background, can understand the idea that life must have one creator, one ultimate source. This makes Islam accessible to everyone, from a farmer in Africa to a student in Europe to a business professional in America. The message does not exclude but embraces, reminding each person that they are part of the same creation and answerable to the same Lord. The practices of Islam also reflect this universality. The Quran was revealed in Arabic, but the call to prayer echoes in countless languages as Muslims translate its meaning for communities worldwide. In prayer, all Muslims face the same direction toward the Kaaba, creating a sense of unity that goes beyond borders. During the Hajj pilgrimage, people from every nation gather in the same clothing, performing the same rituals, speaking different tongues, yet expressing the same devotion. For a convert, realizing that they are now connected to a brotherhood and sisterhood that stretches across continents is both humbling and empowering. They are no longer defined by their nationality or race, but by their shared commitment to God. The message of Islam also speaks to universal human concerns. Questions about the meaning of life, the purpose of existence, and the reality of death are not confined to one culture. They are questions every human being carries within themselves. Islam answers these questions with clarity. Life is a test, the world is a temporary stage, and the ultimate goal is to return to the Creator in a state of faith. This truth resonates because it speaks to the deepest part of the human condition. Whether a person is living in the East or the West, rich or poor, educated or uneducated, the need for purpose is the same, and Islam offers that purpose without complication. This universality also removes superiority based on identity. Islam does not elevate one race over another, nor one nation above the rest. Its teachings emphasize that the most honored before God are those who are most righteous, not those who are wealthiest or most powerful. For people in societies where divisions are sharp and inequality is deeply felt, this principle of equality is both liberating and inspiring. It creates the vision of a world where unity is possible, not because people erase their differences, but because they recognize that beneath those differences lies the same soul created by the same God.